Shut it down. Shut it down. What are we funding? A domestic terrorist organization? Yeah. I'm going to start every single topic that I talk about today asking you to do something for the country. Even if you've never called Congress before, even if you've never programmed this phone number into your phone, 202-224-3121, which is the Capitol switchboard, you need to call today to implore your representative in the House of Representatives to not be a Nazi collaborator. Today, there is scheduled a vote to increase funding for ICE. They are trying to wrap up the appropriations for the year. And we need to hold them accountable because anybody, Democrat, Republican, who votes to fund ICE, a single dollar is a Nazi collaborator. In 2026, I never thought I would be in a situation where I am saying, do not fund this Homeland Security Department because they are terrorists. They are terrorizing American citizens and immigrants alike. They are kidnapping people off the streets of the United States. They are murdering citizens in cold blood. Why would we, pray tell, give them a single red cent? Any member of Congress who does so is a collaborator with Donald Trump. If you advance the agenda of Donald Trump, you're a collaborator. And ICE, the masked secret police force of Donald Trump that is filled to the gills with Proud Boys, should not be funded. 202-224-3121. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what's going on here. This is from ABC News. House moves to finish government funding as Democrats decry Homeland Security bill. The House is looking to pass this year's final batch of spending bills. The House will look to pass this year's final tranche of spending bills on Thursday, an effort that is being complicated by Democratic lawmakers' concerns that the measure funding the Department of Homeland Security inadequately addresses President Donald Trump's mass deportation efforts. The House has already passed 8 of the 12 annual appropriations bills that fund federal agencies and programs. If the final 4 bills pass on Thursday, action would then move to the Senate with final passage needed before a January 30th deadline to avoid a partial government shutdown. Shut it down. Shut it down. What are we funding? A domestic terrorist organization? Yeah. There will be people who are temporarily harmed by a shutdown. Absolutely. Things will be tough. But things are tough for Renee Good's family. Things are tough for the other individuals who have been murdered by ICE. Things are tough for people who are legally permitted to be here for work, who have asylum claims. They're kidnapping 5-year-olds on their way home from school and using them as bait. They are telling us that they don't need to abide by the 4th Amendment of the United States Constitution, which prohibits unreasonable, unlawful searches and seizures, because they have Trump's executive order. And we're going to fund them? We're going to allow them money to bolster their efforts to continue to terrorize America, to continue to ignore and destroy the Constitution? We're going to allow them to be Nazis under color of law? Because if that's what you fund, members of Congress, you're a collaborator with them. If you fund them, you support them. It's as easy as that. House Democratic leaders, Representative Hakeem Jeffries of New York, Representative Catherine Clark of Massachusetts, and Representative Pete Aguilar of California announced in a closed-door meeting that they would oppose. Even Hakeem Jeffries opposes this. Oppose the Homeland Security bill. Their members are demanding a forceful stand in response to the Republican president's immigration crackdown, most recently centered in the Minneapolis area, where more than 2,000 officers are stationed and where a U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement officer fatally shot Renee Good, a mother of 3. Quote, There's a very big concern about ICE being out of control, said Representative Rosa DeLauro, the ranking Democratic lawmaker on the House Appropriations Committee. But Democrats have few good options. She's now a culprit in trying to get Democrats to vote for this ICE funding bill. She herself apparently is a Nazi collaborator, along with one that you will not be surprised by, Henry Cuellar of Texas, the criminal that Donald Trump just pardoned. This is Rosa DeLauro again. But Democrats have few good options to express their opposition. You have the option to not vote for it, Rosa DeLauro. You have the option to not be a collaborator with ICE. You have the option to not vote to fund them one single penny, Congresswoman. You have that option. Is that not available to you? But Democrats have few good options to express their opposition, other than your vote, I guess. DeLauro said that passing a continuing resolution to fund Homeland Security at current levels for the remainder of the budget year would cede spending decisions to Trump. There's also little appetite for another shutdown, even if it would affect only a portion of the federal government. Quote, there is much more we must do to rein in DHS, which I will continue to press for. But the hard truth is that Democrats must win political power to enact the kind of accountability we need, said Senator Patty Murray, the top Democrat on the Senate Appropriations Committee. This year's Homeland Security bill holds spending for ICE roughly flat from the year prior. It also restricts the ability of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to unilaterally shift funding and allocate federal dollars as she sees fit. Listen, they're not abiding by the law anyway. Why would we make a deal? Why would we negotiate? Why would we come to the table with look, well, this is what we want. If you give us this, we'll give you, when they lie. They don't tell the truth. They don't abide by their previously agreed to agreements. Why would we make a deal with these ghouls, with these Nazis? Why would we do that? Are we Charlie Brown getting ready to kick the football and having Lucy yank it up and whoop? I thought this time would be the time she'd let me kick it. Are we going to continue to be the party that thinks that Republicans are partners in governance? Is that what we're going to be? I, for one, am not a sucker. I, for two, maybe more prominently, am not a Nazi collaborator. And I don't abide those who are. Quote, it's not everything we wanted. We wanted more oversight. But look, Democrats don't control the House. We don't control the Senate or the White House. But we were able to add some oversight over Homeland, said Representative, pardoned by Trump, Representative Henry Cuellar, Democrat of Texas, a member of the appropriations panel. He said he intends to vote for the bill because he, after all, is a Nazi fucking collaborator. But most Democrats who emerged from the closed-door caucus meeting on Wednesday had a different view. I never support lawless operations, said Representative Marcy Kaptur of Ohio. Quote, if it's the status quo, I'm a no, said Brad Schneider, Democrat of Illinois. DeLauro, along with Cuellar, made a presentation about the bill to House Democrats during their closed-door meeting. Representative Pramila Jayapal, Democrat of Washington, said she told her colleagues why she thought it was a mistake. Others who spoke up agreed, she said. This is Jayapal, quote, I think this is just a really horrific time, and people understand what's at stake, Jayapal said. We can't treat this like it's anything else. Our eyes are not lying to us. It is simple. It is undeniable. It is inarguable. If you vote to fund ICE, you are collaborating with Nazis. The Department of Homeland Security is a white supremacist organization. If you go to their Twitter, all they do all day long is quote Nazi rhetoric. They repurpose literal Nazi slogans from World War II. The imagery, the fascist aesthetic of it all. And yet DeLauro and Cuellar, they cannot wait to vote to fund ICE so they can be more just flush with cash to violate the Constitution, to kidnap community members, to murder American citizens. There will be accountability after all of this. There absolutely will be accountability. Now, DeLauro, she's old. She'll probably just not run again. But Cuellar, he wants power. He wants to be around. He's just a bootlicking simp for the clowns he represents in Texas. Do not be a Nazi collaborator. Do not be represented by a Nazi collaborator. 202-224-3121. That's the Capitol switchboard. Tell them where you're from. You can give them your zip code. You can go to 5calls.org. Find this. They'll give you a script of what to read. 5calls.org. Number 5, calls.org. Or you can just do it yourself. 202-224-3121. Love and appreciate you very much. Listen, even if you've never called, make this the time that you call. There's never been a more important call that you'll make than this one. What do you think? You can comment below after you call. Not accepting any calls at the voicemail line or comments unless you call. Huh? How's that? I can't really control that, but you know. Comment below. You can call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. Love you more if you call 202-224-3121. And I'll see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another. You know how you do it? By calling 202-224-3121. Where are all the don't tread on me folks? Where are all of the ghouls who fly their little Gadsden flags? Today is a vote to fund ICE, to finalize some of the funding for this year. Call your congressperson and tell them not to be a Nazi collaborator. Do not give one single penny to ICE in appropriations. 202-224-3121. That's your charge for the day. That is your patriotic duty to do so. If you don't want to be a Nazi collaborator, if you don't want to be represented by a Nazi collaborator, you tell your representative, Republican, but especially Democrat, do not vote for this, because you'll be looking for a different fucking job after this election. Now, let's talk about some of the terror that's being foisted upon the American people by the domestic terrorist organization, ICE, by Donald Trump's masked secret police force filled with Proud Boys that are now violating the Constitution by order and edict of the Department of Homeland Security. I have in my hands a leaked memo that I'm going to read to you that admonishes ICE agents that they do not need a warrant to enter the private domiciles of people they are kidnapping, which is a remarkable turn for the Constitution Party, for the party that is filled to the brim with politicians that reach into their pockets and wave around their Constitution as some kind of a prop. Because that, after all it is to Republicans. They do no longer follow or adhere or venerate or have any loyalty to the Constitution. They have replaced the loyalty for the Constitution with loyalty to Trump, loyalty to white supremacy, loyalty to sending migrants to internment camps, and the wholesale murder of American citizens who don't agree with Donald Trump's mass deportation policies. Where to begin? Where to begin? We've got all kinds of stuff here. One, let me say this. This is a secret memo that has now been revealed to the AP, is who broke the story first, by whistleblowers within the Department of Homeland Security. And this is not being publicized. This is not a widely distributed memo. In fact, maybe I'll start with that. Maybe that is where I will start, that this is actually being personally handed to individual ICE agents so they can read it. Then they are briefed verbally on what's in it, and then they have to give it back to their supervisor, preventing exactly what did take place, that this was released to the public. First of all, let me start with this. We'll start with this. The Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Very clear. Very paramount to the fundamentals of our civil rights in this country, the Fourth Amendment. It is the reason why, being raised in a right-wing, militia admiring or apologetic kind of a household, that I would be frustrated and animated to action as a kid, even watching the show Cops. Understanding, don't talk, don't tell him, don't allow them to search your vehicle, don't give them permission. And apparently, I took it to heart because I've carried with me into my adulthood about the civil and human rights of individuals. The Constitution means something to me still. It just doesn't to Republicans, because it was never about protecting everyone. It's constitutional rights for me, the Fourth Amendment for me, the First Amendment for me, the Second Amendment for me, but not for thee, especially if you're black or brown. Because that's scary. You don't get rights, only I get rights. It's my birthright. This land is my birthright because I'm a white American. The Republican Party mantra now. So let me read a little bit about this, how they've made this memo a private thing. Then we'll get to what's in it, which is just an admonition to you don't need the Fourth Amendment. You don't need an actual warrant. You just need a document signed by someone within ICE who says that ICE can do what they want. And that's really not even a stretch. This is the gravamen of the disclosure. By memorandum dated May 12th, 2025, Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons authorizes ICE agents to forcibly enter into certain people's homes without a judicial warrant, consent, or an emergency. Specifically, in the May 12 memo, the acting ICE director authorized ICE agents to rely on Form I-205, which is not a judicial warrant. It's an internal document that is signed by an ICE official. So it's an ICE official, not a judge, not someone qualified by the Constitution, not someone qualified by statutory regulation, not a judge. It's Greg Bavino being able to say, oh yeah, here you go. I signed it. Now you can go in. That's not how it works. You don't give a cop the decision of whether they get to follow or not the Constitution. They are restricted by the Constitution. It is a confounding issue for cops all across the country, especially these masked Nazi fucks, that they have prohibitions upon, restrictions upon their behavior. While addressed to all ICE personnel, in practice, the May 12th memo has not been formally distributed to all personnel. Instead, the May 12th memo has been provided to select DHS officials who are then directed to verbally brief the new policy for action. Those supervisors then show the memo to some employees, like our clients, and direct them to read the memo and return it to the supervisor. A Form I-205, which the DHS has called an warrant of removal deportation, they've called it that, that's not what it is drafted and signed by an ICE official based upon the final administrative order of deportation typically issued by an immigration judge. The purpose of the Form I-205 is to authorize ICE agents to detain and remove these individuals. These arrests have always been limited to public spaces because the Form I-205 has not been considered a warrant issued by a neutral and detached magistrate. Only a warrant issued by a neutral and detached magistrate would authorize ICE agents to enter or search non-public areas such as the alien's residence. Now, I was going to read the rest of that, but let's get to the memo. Let's get to this signed by Donald Trump's personal acting ICE director, this Nazi fuck, Todd Lyons. On January 20, we'll just get to the part that is the most egregious, but I'm reading from the memo here. Although the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has not historically relied upon administrative warrants alone to arrest aliens subject to final orders of removal in their place of residence, although we've never done this before, we're going to do it because Donald Trump said so. That's what they're doing here. The DHS Office of the General Counsel has recently determined that the U.S. Constitution, the Immigration and Nationality Act, and the immigration regulations do not prohibit relying on administrative warrants for this purpose. They're just The General Counsel of ICE said it was so. Someone Donald Trump, some loyal lackey, some bootlicking lapdog decided we don't need to follow the Constitution because the dear leader said so. And that's all we need. That's the memo that you're keeping hidden, that you're not disseminating widely within the organization. Is that it? Accordingly, in light of this legal determination from inside of ICE immigration officers may arrest and detain aliens subject to a final order of removal issued by an immigration judge, not a district judge, not a federal judge, an immigration judge. By the way, I don't even think, the way I understand it, you don't even need to be an actual lawyer or a trained judge to be an immigration judge. The Board of Immigration Appeals, or a U.S. District Court judge or magistrate judge in their place of residence. Those other two are the legit ones. So they're mixing in a bunch of lies and conspiracies with the actual elements of someone who can authorize you to enter someone's private domicile. ICE immigration officers should consider all available enforcement mechanisms, including the use of Form I-205. Again, that's like saying, oh, this notice about Jason Crow's anti-invasion of Venezuela event today at the Capitol, which I'm going to be at, by the way. This is qualified to enter someone's home. It's just as valid. It's not what the Constitution prescribes. Including the use of Form I-205 to arrest an alien in their place of residence, to achieve the requirements, and here we are, to achieve the requirements of executive order, blah, 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 in accordance with applicable laws and policies. In accordance with, to achieve the requirements of something Donald Trump said. Executive order isn't a law. Executive order is an edict from the king, the wannabe king president, Donald Trump. And this document lays out in great detail exactly what is on the table here. And in fact, this is what we're up against here. This is from the AP. Let me read two paragraphs from this about what they witnessed. This is from the article, Immigration Officers Assert Sweeping Power to Enter Homes Without a Judge's Warrant, Memo says. And then down here, the Associated Press witnessed ICE officers ramming through the front door of the home of Liberian man Garrison Gibson with a deportation order from 2023 in Minneapolis on January 11th, wearing heavy tactical gear and with their rifles drawn, Documents reviewed by the Associated Press revealed that the agents only had an administrative warrant, meaning there was no judge who authorized the raid on private property. Where are all the don't tread on me folks? Where are all of the ghouls who fly their little Gadsden flags that really should just be the snake licking the boot or the butthole of Donald Trump? Because that's what these people are. They're just racists. They're just white supremacists. They derive glee and joy in the torture and rounding up and sending to internment camps. And that's the best of it, by the way. That's the best of it, getting sent to an internment camp. Oftentimes, these people are being sent to countries or continents to which they've never been. We're deporting people not back to their homes, but to torture prisons in El Salvador, in countries in Africa. We're sending people from Latin America, Central and South America to Africa for the chaos of it. Because Donald Trump said so in his executive order, which is titled something about the invasion of the homeland. Protecting the American people against invasion. Nazi language. This is why you need to call 202-224-3121. 202-224-3121 and tell your representative not to fund ICE. Not be a Nazi collaborator. Do not collaborate. Do not fund an organization which is flagrantly, openly violating the United States Constitution and the Fourth Amendment, entering homes, crashing through homes in urban assault raids to kidnap people without the signature of a judge, without having provided any probable cause. Their probable cause is, well, the boss said it was okay because Donald Trump said it was okay. That's not good enough in a country of laws. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. This is an important one.
A cubby complete with stuffed animals and stickers belonging to a student swept up in the federal immigration operation.
The sense of safety in our community and around our schools is shaken, and our hearts are shattered.
His name is Liam Ramos. He is 5 years old.
Call your representative today. It's the most important call you'll make possibly this year. Certainly up to this time in the year. 202-224-3121. That's the number of the Capitol switchboard. Even if you've never called before, even if you've never contacted your congressman, your representative, your senator, call and let them know you will not abide Nazi collaboration. Do not fund ICE. Do not fund the Department of Homeland Security. And this story is just another reason why not. ICE kidnapped a 5-year-old child, sent him off to Texas. Where? We're not quite sure. It could be the ICE facility in Texas where 3 detainees have died just this year. It's the 22nd of January, and there's already been 3 deaths at ICE facility. Is this where they sent this kid? This child? This sweet little human being with his little hat on, coming back from school, getting kidnapped by ICE, and that's not even the worst of it. They used him as bait to try to kidnap other members of his family. This is from the Washington Post. ICE detains 4 children from Minnesota School District, including a 5-year-old. Columbia Heights Public Schools District officials accused ICE officers of using the 5-year-old as bait. A 10-year-old and her mother were also detained. This is where we are in America right now. And there's a shrinking, but still sizable portion of the population that looks at this with glee. As Donald Trump and the dildo with ears, Tom Homan, and all of these other ghouls act like we're going after the worst of the worst. Kristi Noem can't stop saying that phrase. We're going after the hardened criminals. Does this little kid, this little boy, Liam, is he the hardened criminal they're going after? They gave us no evidence. Donald Trump at the White House podium just showing pictures, ready to fall asleep. It says murderer under his name. It must be true. They provide no evidence, no indictments. It's just a claim. And now they're going after 5-year-old children on their return from preschool. 5-year-old Liam Ramos and his father, whom the Department of Homeland Security identified as Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, in an emailed statement, were detained in their driveway Tuesday afternoon, just as they were returning from the child's preschool, according to a news release from Columbia Heights Public Schools. The father fled on foot when ICE officers approached him, DHS said. By the way, nothing they say can be trusted. Any statement from the DHS can just be considered out-of-hand lies. Absolute, just a fabrication of not even a twisting of what the actual facts are on the ground. They're just fucking liars. They're murdering people in ICE detention internment camps and then saying, oh, they tried to kill themselves. In fact, Brittany Page just did a video on this today. This very thing that you need to check out involving all of these murders that are taking place, the deaths. There's not enough time in the day. There's not enough hours to cover everything. That's why you need to diversify the information sources that you go to, because I can't cover everything. Not like I would be your one source anyway. But check out that video. We'll put the thumbnail here, link below. Watch that video. It's very, very important, very informative, so you can go through your day when talking to people, informing them about what the actual facts on the ground are. People who have a tendency to believe the government, to believe Kristi Noem, the fucking liar of liars, who lies for a liar for a living. After detaining the father, ICE agents then asked Liam to knock on the door to see if any other people were inside the home. using a 5-year-old as bait, according to the school district. Another adult living in the home, who was outside at the time, begged the agents to leave the child with them, the school district said. ICE agents refused because the ICE agents kidnapped this child and sent him from north of Minneapolis to Texas. Here's a headline from NBC News, just to give you a flavor for where he may have ended up. Third immigrant detainee at facility in El Paso has died, ICE says. Camp East Montana on Fort Bliss in El Paso is one of the largest ICE detention centers in the country. Again, go watch Brittany Page's video. But look, watch this news package from WCCO, the CBS affiliate in Minneapolis, talking about the kidnapping of Liam, this little boy, and the school officials who they are, by all, they're just absolutely distraught. These are people who have dedicated their lives in a helping profession, in an education profession, to develop the minds of human beings, young, impressionable human beings. Imagine the scene. Imagine a 5-year-old trying to wrap his brain around what is taking place. That men in masks with guns are violently, aggressively kidnapping his family and himself, throwing him on a plane to take him who knows where, separated from all the people he knows and loves. And Republicans are praising this. They're gleeful for this inhumanity. Watch this package from WCCO.
School leaders in Columbia Heights are also sounding the alarm, saying ICE is not only following buses and coming onto school grounds, but taking students. A cubby complete with stuffed animals and stickers belonging to a student swept up in the federal immigration operation.
The sense of safety in our community and around our schools is shaken, and our hearts are shattered.
His name is Liam Ramos. He is 5 years old. Officials from his school say he was taken by ICE with his father while in their driveway after just arriving home from his preschool classroom Tuesday. School officials say he was used as bait. According to them, agents made Liam knock on the door, asking to let them in order to see if anyone else was home.
Why detain a 5-year-old? You can't tell me that this child is going to be classified as a violent criminal. The middle school brother came home to a missing dad, a missing little brother, and a terrified mother.
And Columbia Heights school leaders say Liam's family is far from alone.
As of today, 4 of our students, our children, have been detained by ICE.
They say a 17-year-old was also detained by ICE on his way to school Tuesday, removed from his car and taken away. Another 17-year-old was detained last week.
2 weeks ago, a 10-year-old student, 4th grader, was taken by ICE agents on her way to elementary school with her mother. During the arrest, the child called her father on the phone to tell him that ICE agents were bringing her to school. The father immediately came to the school to find that both his daughter and wife had been taken.
Now, school leaders say that Liam and his family are in the U.S. under an active claim for asylum and had no orders for deportation. We've asked ICE for a comment on these arrests of these children, but have not gotten a response.
Yeah, and don't expect any response from the Department of Homeland Security. They're not in the business of giving facts. They're not in the business of giving any updates about their crimes against humanity, their crimes against the country, their violations of the Constitution of the United States. Don't hold your breath waiting for a statement from Kristi fucking Noem. This is why we should not fund ICE. This is why we should abolish ICE. Not another dollar for the Department of Homeland Security. And any member of Congress, Republican or Democrat, especially Democrat, if you vote to fund ICE, you are a Nazi collaborator. 202-224-3121. If you live in Rosa DeLauro's district, especially. If you live in Henry Cuellar's district in Texas, especially. Call them and let them know you will not abide their collaboration with Nazis. 202-224-3121. After that, if you want to comment below. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054, but only after you've called Congress. If you appreciate what I do, you want to help out in producing these videos for $2 a month, you could do that. Click the join button below to become a channel member on YouTube, or Go to patreon.com/I-doubt-it podcast. That's the best way because they take way less of a cut than Patreon. Patreon takes like 5%. YouTube takes like 30 or 35. It's a lot. Anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. Only if I'm your flavor. Only if I'm your vibe. Only if I provide you value in what I do.
Is Trump a 4-year-old brat or an aging, mentally ill dictator? You got to pick a lane.
You know, the manosphere, the alpha male, masculine segment of conservatism. You know, it's led by, they're always like little skinny goofuses like Jordan Peterson or that Nick Adams dipshit. But there's also your television host contingent as well. Will Cain just stepped into this. Jesse Waters, of course, that's who I'm going to talk about today. But these are people who are just shameless grifters. They know that MAGA is so stupid, so bereft of understanding of how the world works that they'll just swallow any lie, any substance for that matter, if it comes from Donald Trump. But Jesse Waters is among the worst. Just a dipshit, just a tiny straw-sucking moron who acts like it's not masculine to suck on a straw while just gobbling down straw after straw. It is just, he's cashing checks. I hope that all that money is worth it because you're selling your soul, you little bitch, Jesse Waters. Let me share this with you. I don't know if it came in the coming up or not, but it needs to be readdressed now. This is Jesse Waters saying, you know what, the thing they won't call Trump, they won't call him stupid. They won't call him stupid. You never watched my show there, Jesse Waters. I call Donald Trump a dumb fuck on almost a daily basis. Along with you. You are also a stupid dumb fuck. Here is Jesse Waters giving you exactly the lay of the land, or not you, but MAGA world, you know, the unwashed, low information rubes in his audience. And then we'll move on to the rest of the segment and talk about exactly what led him there.
Notice what they never call Trump. Dumb. Because they know he's smart.
Yeah. Because they know he's smart. Right. So here's what led to this. He's talking about Davos in Switzerland. He's talking about Donald Trump's speech, which is just a meandering nonsense fest of barely being able to keep his eyes open while saying that people who buy windmills are stupid or whatever nonsense. And Jesse Waters just repeats that. He doesn't even call wind turbines. He doesn't even call them wind turbines. He calls them windmills like Donald Trump because it's all about imitation and emulation for these cult members. But this is where it began. He's criticizing Gavin Newsom and different Democrats who are in Switzerland right now at the World Economic Forum. And it's either if you criticize Donald Trump, you can't take a joke, but also if you criticize Donald Trump, you're attempting a coup against the country. Make it make sense. Here's the first clip. Him criticizing multiple Democrats of their criticism of Donald Trump.
The Bloodhound's not feeling it, though. He says Gavin's a hot mess. All sizzle, no steak.
Governor Newsom, who strikes me as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken, may be the only Californian who knows less about economics than Kamala Harris. He's here this week with his billionaire sugar daddy, Alex Soros. My message to Governor Newsom is the Trump administration is coming to California. We are going to crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse.
How much did Gavin spend flying to the Swiss Alps? We're about to find out. Newsom's always struck me as slightly European. That's why he had a little heart-to-heart with his French soulmates.
You criticized world leaders when you got here, saying that some of these European leaders have capitulated to the president.
In the past.
You said you should have brought knee pads. What have you heard from them since then?
A lot. I heard a surprising number say, glad you made those comments. The exact opposite of what you might expect.
Gavin seems to have a lot of secret conversations no one can verify. Biden did too, remember? There must be voices in their heads. Or is Gavin just whispering with the Europeans like a bunch of girls? Because we know the Europeans and Democrats can be two-faced. Now, if you want to go to the party, You got to play nice with the guy running the door. Gavin tried to crash the USA House party in Davos. Trump bounced him. Gavin complained, and then the White House fired back. No one in Davos knows who third-rate Governor Newsom is or why he's frolicking around Switzerland instead of fixing the many problems he created in California. And later, Trump said, all right, swing by a little after 10. President's being the bigger person here. Gavin hasn't rebuilt a single home in the Palisades, but he's off frolicking with foreign leaders. 47's just flipping on the lights, cutting the music, and telling Gavin, go fix your state, bud. But Bernie's calling Trump the immature one.
It's like a narcissistic 4-year-old spoiled brat. You know?
Yeah.
I'm going to yell and scream because I didn't get my extra cup of ice cream. So, you know.
Kentucky's Democrat governor's also in Davos, and he kind of caught Gavin's TDS.
The speech was dangerous, it was disrespectful, and it was unhinged. You saw him ramble on in stories and even try to do voices. I mean, this is really concerning, and for the United States, frankly, embarrassing.
Learn to take a joke. Is it a joke that Donald Trump is rounding up tens of thousands of community members across the United States, people with legal permission to be here, people with pending asylum claims, rounding them up and sending them to internment camps? Is it a tee-hee Jesse Waters that Renee Good was shot in the face, in the chest, and in the arm, and the headshot was from the side, meaning the kill shot was when the officer wasn't in danger. He wasn't being struck by the car. He was not hospitalized. You are a stooge for fascism, you skinny, stupid fuck. You, Jesse Waters. You being paid by a flagrant propaganda outlet, a state media agency, to promote the idea of white supremacy, because you yourself are a white supremacist, a racist. Now, this next clip, we're gonna start where we left off with the Andy Bashirs and the not knowing how to take a joke, and he's gonna pivot right into criticizing the ladies of The View, the hosts of The View, for their attempt to steer into a coup. And what is the coup? Criticizing Donald Trump. Donald Trump is apparently the golden god, the king of the country that you cannot cross. Do not criticize Donald Trump. Don't do it, or it's a coup.
And for the United States, frankly, embarrassing.
All right, have a sense of humor. Is Trump a 4-year-old brat or an aging, mentally ill dictator? You got to pick a lane. The ladies of The View, they can't. They're swerving all over the road, straight toward a coup.
The 25th Amendment requires the cabinet around him to act.
But we're talking to them.
Well, I know, but I'm just, as a dose of reality, his cabinet is squarely with him.
Yes.
Though I do think...
And it's time for them to go, too.
The View was fine with Biden falling asleep and wandering off, but Trump busts his buddy's chops about wearing sunglasses and they want to whack him? Notice what they never call Trump. Dumb. Because they know he's smart. And that's what scares them the most. Outkick.com host and co-host of the Big Weekend Show, Tomi Lahren. All right, Tommy, how'd Gavin do in Davos?
We got it. I think I got it. Trump's smart. Jesse Waters smart. Let's bring on someone who's also smart to talk about the smart things that Donald Trump did at Davos. Who do we go to? Tomi Lahren. Yeah. It's a real fucking brain trust over there on Jesse Waters' show. There's no other point other than to mock these freaks, because when this is all over and Donald Trump dies in his sleep and there's no more Donald Trump asshole to stick your head into, where are they going to be? Are they going to find a new cult leader? It ain't going to be J.D. Vance. He's got a brown wife and kids. They can't abide that. You're an embarrassment. The thing is, I think Jesse Waters knows. I think he's a smart enough guy, this child of privilege, this raised as a rich kid, now an even richer man. He turned a giant pile of money into a slightly larger pile of money, all on his merit. He knows what he's doing. He knows. He knows that he is a laughing stock. It doesn't matter, though, because apparently money is the great insulator from shame. It's the replacement for actually having dignity or morals or ethics or standards of behavior. But he's a big patriot, never served in the military. Too much of a coward to actually serve his country. So he serves it now. Well, not his country, he serves Donald Trump. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Before you call, before you comment, call and tell your representative in the House not to be a Nazi collaborator. Do not vote to fund ICE. Do not vote to fund Department of Homeland Security. 202-224-3121. That is the number. Then you can comment.
By the way, I'm not kidding. They're the new Trump signature series knee pads. Yeah, and they are available online. I told you the last one sold out.
Even if you've never called your congressperson before, today is the day. 202-224-3121. Call your representative and tell them not to be a Nazi collaborator. Today is the vote to fund ICE. Another funding bill for ICE. Another funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security, which is now endeavoring to turn this country into a white ethno-state. If your congressperson votes for it, they are a Nazi collaborator. I don't care if they're a Democrat or not. If they vote to fund ICE, they are collaborating to fund Nazis, to fund masked armed agents of the state, anonymous, Proud Boys. That's all on that. Until maybe at the end when I talk about it again. Gavin Newsom was in Davos yesterday. I just talked about Jesse Waters trying to say whatever nonsense he was saying about it. I got a lot of criticisms for Gavin Newsom. I think he is a charlatan. I think he's a liar. He's a great Trump opponent, but that doesn't make him an ally. He's now trying to kill a bill in California. I know I shouldn't start like this. People are already clicking off. It's what it is. He's trying to kill a bill in California to tax billionaires because, you know, he can't abide his rich friends being taxed at an appropriate rate to help fund the state that has given them so much, provided them so much. He has his little podcast where he invites Steve Bannon on. He invited Charlie Kirk, the racist, white supremacist, Christian nationalist bigot. Told him, oh, my son's a huge fan of you. And he just had Ben Shapiro on. He's breaking bread with Nazi fucks. He's breaking bread with white supremacists. He's breaking bread with people who are apologetic, making excuses for or denying the fact that a genocide is taking place by Israel in Palestine. Gavin Newsom's not a good guy. He's a great Trump opponent, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But I wanted to get on the record, not a fucking fan. If it turns out he's the only choice to run against a Republican in 2028, I'm going to vote for that guy. I will hold my nose and vote for him. But he's not my choice. He never will be my choice. I don't sit down and break bread with racists. I don't hold hands with racists. I don't tell racists and white supremacists about, oh, my kid's such a big fan of you. It's not finding middle ground. These people aren't partners in civilization with us. They are detractors of what is good and decent and moral. And to sit with them elevates them. It normalizes them. So fucking stop it, Gavin. Now, let's talk about him in Davos. We burned almost 3 minutes here. Sorry. The thing he is good at, apart from everything I just said, is being a Trump opponent, is having facts at the ready, statistics at the ready to battle Donald Trump and his lies. He sat on a stage and was interviewed in Davos, Switzerland at the World Economic Forum yesterday, where he dragged Donald Trump. And really, the real efficacy of this is the fact that it distracts Donald Trump from further damage that he can do. When you make fun of Donald Trump and you point out that he is a feeble, doddering old man who is ready to die in his sleep, it bothers him. When you point out that all the people around him are just bootlicking sycophants and talking about the knee pads that you sell that are the Trump signature series or whatever, this is a distraction for them, not for us. This distracts them and it delays their agenda being accomplished. I have 3 clips here, all very brief. Let's start with the knee pads.
You know, you're running around distributing knee pads to CEOs, and I think
I'm
it
not
does.
handing them out.
And it does.
I do have a few if you'd like. I don't know.
And honestly, it sounds.
By the way, I'm not kidding. They're the new Trump signature series knee pads. Yeah, and they are available online. I told you the last one sold out. And I just want to sort of. This is a serious moment. It actually. We laugh. Anyway, these are available and in bulk too.
Look, it's funny. It's biting, it's insulting, it's fine. But it doesn't really get to the crux. And these next two clips do. These next two clips are a lot of criticism and commentary that is kind of masked by the insults, masked by pointing out the absurdity of the people who surround Donald Trump. And in this first one, he's criticizing administration officials, specifically Scott Bessent. But everything he says is absolutely true. Look, I can not like the guy and still appreciate the fact that he's bringing facts, that he's bringing the fire against Donald Trump and these fascists. Everything else, I don't like milquetoast Democrats. I don't like people who could call themselves progressives and then turn their backs on trans Americans. Not a fan. Yeah, there's just a fundamental issue of fairness with sports. Ugh. There's not even 10 athletes in all of the NCAA who are trans. Shut the fuck up, Gavin Newsom. As I say that, I realize the irony as I play a clip of him bringing the heat to Scott Bessent and members of the administration.
But I want to read you a couple of things the U.S. government has said about you in the last 24 hours or so.
The U.S. government.
The Treasury Secretary.
When you put it
the Treasury Secretary described you as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken. The White House Communications Director.
That was the U.S. Secretary of Treasury.
I have a couple more, and then you can respond. The White House Communications Director called you Gavin Newsom, and and an official White House account, a federal government account, described you with I'd say very online sexual slur that people here probably don't want to hear at 8:30 in the morning. And you're, in some sense, responding in kind, and waving the knee pads around.
Fire with fire.
Do you think? Should you? I mean, is that kind of discourse from you, from them, good for America?
No, it's deeply unbecoming. Come on, of course it is. It's not what we should be doing. But you've got to point out the absurdity. You got to put a mirror up to this. This is madness. President, you see what he's saying about European leaders? You talking down to people, talking past people. I mean, look, the comments he made yesterday we're not even discussing, because you're discussing all the other comments about windmills or whatever else that was happening. Well, he talked about Somalia's community. This is not normal. It's a deviation of normalcy. We've got to call it out. So I put a mirror up to Trump and Trumpism in all caps. And it was ironic because Pravda, Fox News in America, others, they got offended by it. They said, well, where's his mother to wash his mouth out with soap? I said, well, where the hell have you been? You've never said a word about Trump dressing up as the Pope. Tweeting out and cosplaying on the world stage. And so the Treasury Secretary talked about a Barbie doll. It was as if he was reading a diary and had just broken up with someone. I mean, that was the Secretary of Treasury using valuable time yesterday on the world stage. Thank you for not sharing that on the official White House account. We're deeply in their head. I think the affordability agenda appears to be, I'm living rent-free in the Trump administration's head.
Some of this is the reason I don't really like him. He's making it about him. I live rent-free in their heads. But all those criticisms are correct. Scott Bessent is a ghoul. Scott Bessent is a man who worked for George Soros, who's now claiming that Gavin Newsom works for George Soros. He literally worked for George Soros. And in the next one, it's really the pinnacle of what his skill set is, and that is distracting Donald Trump with criticism, making fun of Donald Trump, mocking Donald Trump. Because he does, unfortunately, he does live rent-free in his head. Watch this.
He's an invasive species, Donald Trump. He's not. He is. He took over the Republican Party. They're just, he's got, a few of them. Lindsey Graham, speaking of the knee pads. I'm sorry. This is tough stuff. It's tough stuff. I don't recognize these people any longer. I used to respect Lindsey. I mean, Lindsey, you think what I'm saying about Trump's tough? How about what Lindsey Graham said about Trump? How about the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio?
Do you think?
I mean, these are the same people. And this is why for things to change, we need to change.
Do you think
and that's why I'm changing my approach. And again, grateful you all took the time.
I mean, I suppose, do you think?
So you may ask, do you think this moves the needle? I don't. I don't think this moves the needle too much, but it does delay. It does distract. It does cause, there's finite number of minutes in a day, and hours in a day, right? And so if we can distract Donald Trump, and if he and Marco Rubio have to have a conversation about the thing that Gavin Newsom said, those are just a few minutes that are not dedicated to the destruction of the republic. Those are just a few minutes dedicated to them not being able to devise ways to defy the Constitution. And I'm here for that. But again, we need to pick better leaders, people who actually will stand for what is right, what is moral, what is upstanding, not cozy to fucking billionaires, not turn their back on marginalized, abused, in danger communities in this country. He's done a lot of good stuff. The redistricting thing was a good thing. This bill that is working its way through to outlaw ICE agents from being masked in the operation of their duties. That's all good. He's not far left enough for me. And if he's far left enough for you, maybe I'm too left for you. Anyway, give me your feedback. Give me your dissent. Tell me where I'm wrong. This isn't about purity tests. This is about standing up for marginalized communities. And if that's an issue, I'm just not going to budge on. Human rights are human rights, and they are important. They are critical because everything else derives from that. How we treat the vulnerable. It's no test how you treat people, how you treat white men, white middle-class men. That is not a barometer of how you view society. It's how you treat the least of these, to put it in Christianese, to put it in terms of that Jesus talked about. That's the mark. That's the standard by which we should judge our leaders. Anyway, what do you think? After you've called to demand that your congressperson not vote for ICE, not vote to fund the Department of Homeland Security, not be a Nazi collaborator at 202-224-3121, you can call me, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. If you're still around and you appreciate what I do, the forcefulness with which I do it, if I bring you value, please consider supporting this work, helping me produce these videos. You can go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. That's the best option, absolutely the best option. You can also secondarily do it right on YouTube by clicking the join button below the video or just on my channel. Click join, become a channel member, $2 a month.
I've not dug into the details of that. It's not within our purview. It's an administration project.
Call your member of Congress, 202-224-3121. Tell them not to collaborate with ICE. Do not be a Nazi collaborator. Do not fund the Department of Homeland Security one single dime. 202-224-3121. You will be held account. Members of Congress, Democrats, you will be primaried if you vote to fund ICE in the face of kidnappings and murders of citizens, of violations of the Constitution. We won't forget and we won't forgive. You hear that, Rosa DeLauro? You hear that, Henry Cuellar? We will remember. Now, let's talk about the fact that Mike Johnson is a weird, wormy little ass kiss for Donald Trump, who has just abdicated any role, any power as Speaker of the House of Representatives, as the leader of the House of Representatives, a co-equal branch of government. He is just a spokesperson for Donald Trump with his rosy little elf cheeks yesterday for some reason. I have two clips here because I want to demonstrate, I want to illustrate to you that Mike Johnson, when it's anything to defend Donald Trump, he's an expert on, like apparently the Nobel Prize processes. He knows all about that. Oh, Norway, they know more about this. He's president. He has more control. while Monteraju was asking him questions. But then, when asked about Russia being invited to the Board of Peace or whatever, he's like, there's so many moving parts. I don't know. I just don't know. Do you have any questions about the Nobel Prize? I can answer all those. Just weird. He not beating the allegations that he's a closeted gay man at all with all of this Trump adulation. Just a circle jerk. You get Lindsey Graham in there, you get Mike Johnson in there, and they just work Donald Trump over. And he's so addled, he probably thinks it's Melania or something. Who fucking knows? It's bizarre. But watch this with Lil Moses Mike Johnson, the guy who wants to share his porn consumption with his son. Fucking weird, these fucking people. Watch this as he's being asked about the Nobel Prize thing and how Donald Trump is obsessed with it, and the letter that he sent to the president of Denmark about Norway, or was it Norway about Denmark, and he's just addled, just out of it, just completely detached from the reality that the rest of us share. And Mike Johnson, his job is not to be speaker, but to defend Donald Trump.
I'm so sorry. To not getting involved in agreement, he released that text to the Norwegian Prime Minister. Is it appropriate for him to do that?
I think that misportrays what he was doing there. So
what was he trying to do?
You have to ask him.
He was criticizing them for not giving the Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, look, there's a lot of people that criticize them for making a political decision and not awarding the Nobel Peace Prize to probably the most deserving individual in the history of the prize.
But normally the country doesn't have to do it.
8 to 10 wars and conflicts have been resolved by President Trump, and he got snubbed.
But the Prime Minister is not going to do it then.
No, but it is his country, and he has a lot of influence.
Donald Trump is probably the most deserving individual in the history of the prize. First of all, the predicate, the justification for allowing Donald Trump the belief that he deserves a Nobel Prize is that he ended 8 or 10 or 12 or 420 billion wars, whatever nonsense, whatever lie. Submissions for nominees to get the Nobel Prize this year were due like the end of January of last year, of 2025. Donald Trump took office on the 20th. In 11 days, did he end all the wars? That's just one thing. Secondly, the president of Norway doesn't have any control, Mike Johnson, and you know it, you stupid fuck. You know that the president of Norway has no sway in this. Just like Donald Trump has no sway over our awards here. The only award Donald Trump has sway in naming is like the Soccer Peace Prize, which wasn't a thing until the criminals at FIFA saw fit to give him, or allow him to give himself, the Soccer Peace Prize. Thirdly, the president of Norway, the leader of Norway, isn't a dictator. Donald Trump wants to be a dictator. He wants to control the Kennedy Center honors. He would love to control the Oscars, but that's not how it works. It's not how it works. But Mike Johnson would have you believe he knows all about it. Mike Johnson would have you believe that he's got all the information at his fingertips. Except when he's asked about something of import, like Vladimir Putin, a thug and murderer, being invited to the Board of Peace to the tune of $1 billion that Donald Trump will surely pocket. When you ask him about that, he's all, I've not dug into the details of that. It's not within my purview. I'm not one to answer. I just don't know about that.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
You recognize the rampant threat of Russia and military aggression and the necessity of Greenland as a strategic point. Nevertheless, Donald Trump has nominated Vladimir Putin as a member of the Board of Peace for Gaza. Do you have any reactions to that?
Well, I think there's a long list of people nominated for the Board of Peace, and I think some of the details are still being determined. And for $1 billion, you get a permanent seat. I saw over the weekend. I've not dug into the details of that. It's not within our purview. It's an administration project. But I think it's one that's greatly welcomed. We need a Board of Peace there. We because of American strength, we ended that conflict there, and we got the hostages released, all but one who's deceased so far. And the peace has to be continued. It's very fragile. It's a tinderbox there, as you know, that region. But because of President Trump's bold leadership, we were able to end that conflict, and everybody knows that. So we're gonna trust that insight in the administration to sort that out, to figure it out. We have very bright people over there working on it. Our envoys, Witkoff and the rest of the team. The president's son-in-law himself is there. I mean, you have a great group of people, and Marco Rubio is our Secretary of State. We have tremendous confidence in. We will figure this out, but I'm not the one to answer the details on that. We'll have to find out. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, go ahead.
Does that make you confident, MAGA? That's your guy. That's Donald Trump's hand-picked Speaker of the House. These people who power must be just ravenously intoxicating. Because to debase yourself like this, to publicly, metaphorically have your tongue in Donald Trump's butthole 24/7, it is just an embarrassment. Like, your kids are watching you, Mike. He has kids, right? Your children, your family are watching you, Mike Johnson. Yeah, he's got a son that he shares his porn with, so he has kids. They're watching you. They see you. They know that you're a liar. Are you proud of that? It's fucking weird. Anyway, what do you think? Comment below. After you've called Congress and told them not to fund ICE, not to be a Nazi collaborator, 202-224-3121. After that, and only after that, maybe as a treat, you can comment below.
That would be a dereliction of my duty.
And it would be a dereliction of mine if I didn't ask. It is the morning. I'm not yet going to the event that I'm getting ready to talk about, but before I do, I want to tell you to call your member of Congress. I'm getting ready to go stand before a member of Congress on Capitol Hill and ask him questions. Jason Crow is hosting this event. I'm going there. This is a Vote Vet sponsored event. Members of Congress oppose war with Venezuela with Congressman Jason Crow and other members of Congress. And while I'm there, I will be asking Jason Crow to not vote to be a Nazi collaborator. Do not vote to fund ICE. Do not fund the Department of Homeland Security in this vote today. Maybe the vote will already have taken place. I don't think so, though. This is from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. But you can vote. You can call and tell your member of Congress not to vote for ICE, for DHS, to fund them. Do not be a collaborator of the mass secret police of Donald Trump. 202-224-3121, even if you've never called before. So this is this event that I'm going to go to today. Hopefully I will be able to steal the congressman away for just a couple of moments for a couple of questions. And that's what will follow here. And if I don't get that time, then you won't see this video. This will all be for naught. But we need to be listen, I know there are a myriad things right now that are terrorizing the world. Donald Trump being the tip of the spear for that. He is trying to cause imperial conquest for his administration, for himself. He's threatening attacks on Greenland. He's already militarily attacked, unconstitutionally attacked, used the military without the advice and consent of Congress, which has absolute authority to declare war against nations. He's threatening Cuba. He's threatening Panama. He's threatening Colombia. He's threatening Mexico. He's threatening Canada. He has bombed Nigeria. He has bombed Iran. Who did I miss? Donald Trump is a despot and a tyrant and a wannabe dictator. He thinks the Constitution does not apply to him, and we need members of Congress, and I believe Jason Crow is one of them, who will claw back the powers of the Congress, the constitutionally mandated powers of the Congress. So with that, we'll cut to my conversation that hasn't even happened yet with Jason Crow, a member of Congress who has been attacked by Donald Trump, who is being investigated by Donald Trump because he was part of the members who sent that video that said to not follow unlawful orders.
I know this is about affordability and what we can and can't afford, and the party about family values and good stewards of taxpayer dollars. Yeah. Can you speak to what you think, if you were to make a guess, don't put yourself in the mind of a Republican, but why are they so freely willing to abdicate their role under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of the War Powers? Why are they so willing to just bend the knee to Donald Trump and give him everything he wants.
Yeah, you know, when I came to Congress, I wanted to believe that the vast majority of people here were here for the right reasons, for selfless service, to serve their communities. What I have learned is that there are more people than, frankly, I expected, who are here just to keep the job, who are here just because they're interested in the title, right? And you know, you see people who have been here for decades who I think become, frankly, institutionalized, and their identity becomes subsumed into the job, right? So when Donald Trump comes along and he threatens them with primaries or threatens the job, what you see is people's willingness to do anything just to keep the job and the title. And that, even if that means abdicating their constitutional duty or turning their back on their constituents or doing things that are jeopardizing the health care or the safety and security of their constituents. So that is the dynamic that's been created, which leads me to one conclusion and one conclusion only. And that is, if you don't have the courage and the integrity to do the right thing and fulfill your oath, then we just got to send you packing.
You think they know they're a co-equal branch, right? Like, understanding, like, they know that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think they know that. I don't think people. I think there are people here who don't care about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the honest truth. Let's call a spade here, right? There are people here who understand what they need to be doing, right? And they're just not doing it because they just don't have the courage of their convictions, and they're more interested in their own job and self-interest than serving this country.
Sure. Well, thank you for remembering your oath. It's nice to see veterans who are remembering it.
Yeah.
One last thing. Today there's going to be a vote on funding DHS and ICE, and I was wondering what you're planning to do there.
Yeah, I am not going to vote to support a lawless runaway agency. What Americans want is they want federal law enforcement to keep their community safe, to go after criminals, right? To go after real crime, right? Not to abuse and intimidate women and children and families, not to roll up and snatch people off of street corners because they look like they don't belong, not to deny people court hearings and habeas corpus. I mean, we literally became a country based on habeas corpus and the fact that, colonists stood up and said, no, you can't do that. You just can't take people and imprison them and lock them away without a court hearing. Like, we're not going to subject ourselves to that, right? That is one of the most American things you can think about. Is that right? You have a right to be proven a right to be presumed innocent, a right to a hearing, a right to be seen by a lawyer and a judge. And I am just simply not going to vote for something that allows these abuses to continue. That would be a dereliction of my duty.
And it would be a dereliction of mine if I didn't ask. I've been banging the drum, so thanks for not being a Nazi collaborator.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Well, that was good. Good to hear. Also, I guess as a measure of tooting my own horn, before I get to the crux of what the press conference was about, this is why I moved to Washington, D.C. This is why I forego representation in Congress. I am taxed, yet not represented. It's because I want to be able to ask members of Congress to hold them to account. We are lucky to have people like Jason Crow, who doesn't need to be handheld and held to account because he's going to do the right thing. I ask you, call your congressperson, 202-224-3121. I've been screaming that number all day long at the top and bottom of every single topic that I talked about. And it's because I'm not just asking you to ask your congressperson, I'm asking congresspeople when I see them the same thing. I'm holding myself to that same standard. Now, as to the content of what was talked about today, about the abdication of their role as a co-equal branch of government, these bootlickers, these lapdogs, these abject cowards who have bent the knee to Donald Trump and traded their own equality as a governing agency, as a branch of government, just giving it to Donald Trump. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of the Constitution cedes only, exclusively, the power to declare war to Congress. All they have to do is hold a vote. Hold a vote and show the United States people where you stand. Go on the record to declare Donald Trump has the authority to do what he wants right now. Yes, we should declare war against Venezuela, or because you are afraid and you know it's outside of the bounds of what the public opinion is right now, don't do it. Republicans, talking to you. You hold the power, and yet you don't believe you do. You think Donald Trump is such a powerful dictator type, we can't go against him. What will he say? What will he do? What kind of danger will he put our very families in if we go against him? We'll be on the outs like Marjorie Taylor Greene. We'll be on the outs like Thomas Massie. They are weak. They are feckless. They are not leaders. They are followers. And in this moment in time, in this moment in American history, we need leaders. We need leaders like Jason Crow and the rest of the folks who were behind him at the press conference that we should probably be playing B-roll of right now while I'm talking. But I want to say thank you for your efforts. I've already looked at some of the comments on my videos that I've already posted today, and there are a number of you who have said, I just got off the phone with my rep. What I'd like to hear from you, though, is what was the response? What exactly did the person say? Who is your rep? And what did their staffer say? If it's a Republican, I'd really like to know. And if it's, well, either way, I'd like to know. So comment below and tell me what the response was when you called. Again, you still have time, 202-224-3121. Call your member of Congress and tell them a no vote is expected. The expectation is for them to not be a Nazi collaborator, as the same words I used with Congressman Jason Crow. You can also comment below and call my voicemail line. It doesn't go to a congressperson. It just goes to this dumbass. It is 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. Thanks for your engagement today, of all days especially, but also for your long-term commitment to the truth and advancing the agenda of human rights and decency and adherence to the Constitution that many of you have actually sworn an oath to. I'll see you next time. Until then, be genuine and take care of one another.